Good morning. It's commute time. Haven't done this in a while, for all sorts of reasons, which I'll probably go into. Not today, but maybe another day. It's Wednesday, first Wednesday of March. It's cold. My car is a slow puncher. I just spent too long putting air in it outside the front of the house. Finally sitting down, and I'm on my way. So a few things have happened since the last time I did a podcast. More recently, I have a sore knee. My left knee's been very sore. Combination of not getting enough exercise, being overweight, prone to arthritis, blah blah blah. Just getting over it really. I've had it 2 weeks, and now I have a sore shoulder because I've been lifting myself in and out of the car so I can get to work. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, what are you going to work for? You will, take a few days off, And I did actually take a day off, and probably the biggest driving factor is I don't get paid sick days because I'm a contractor. Full-time, 100% contractor. I'm on contract to IBM now. Been doing it now for 3 or 4 weeks. So I've just stumbled on really. So the knee's a lot better, I have to say. It's still a bit sore. I still can't do stairs very well, but that'll come in hopefully the next week or so. And the shoulder's sore now. I've had a hot water bottle on it this morning, and maybe it's just short-term relief. But the cold weather's a factor. It was a factor with the knee as well, and I'd like to say it's because I'm getting old, but I have had knee problems before, and they always got a little bit hoity-toity with me. Doctors, it's nothing to do with your age. So anyhow, I can't use that excuse. Audio quality might not be great. I'm wearing my big blue coat. I'm making sure he doesn't change layers on me, and he did. But wearing a big blue coat to keep warm. When the weather turned cold, you're getting in a car, you don't always realise you really need a big coat on, and that was definitely a factor. I think in my knee, I was sort of like, it was pretty cold actually. So now I make the effort, and rather than take my coat off to get in the car, I've now got it on. I've got gloves on as well. I've got driving gloves on because my poor handies are cold as well. It's March, so I'm hopeful we're going to start getting a bit of heat. This is Ireland though, so I'm not expecting anything amazing on that front. I'm just joining onto the M50 motorway. It's an orbital motorway. I'm heading northbound, so I'm actually going sort of the opposite direction than I used to, which is sort of good because it's sort of opposite to everybody else. The biggest hold-ups I have is cars coming off and joining the motorway at a couple of big junctions, and that slows everybody down. But that's what's happening at the moment actually. I left the house a bit later. My contracted hours at the moment are 9 to 5, which is wonderful. 9 to 5 is fine. They're going to become 8 to 4 because it's actually a French customer that I'll be working on for IBM, so they want French banking hours, which is nice, I suppose. I don't mind coming in for 8. Traffic will be hopefully a little bit quieter coming in that time. It averages between 20 minutes and 35 minutes. And we've just stopped moving. It can't be a big hold-up because Google Maps is telling me 17 minutes. And on this route, Google Maps isn't too bad, So sore knee, sore shoulder. Hanging in there though, and working for IBM. It was one of the last big multinationals that I hadn't worked for in the computing industry. I mean, I'd worked for HP and ICL back in the day when it existed. You could almost say that about HP as well, I suppose now. IBM, a bit of a culture shock. Certainly for the first For the first few months now, it's a lot of training, really, which a lot of it probably don't really need. It's more like refreshing stuff, and it doesn't really start until the 1st of July is the official go live with the customer date, so that'll probably be quite exciting. It's not an arduous job, I don't believe. It's operational, so they'll probably have to do some weekend days as well. They haven't really decided yet how they're going to do that. Working from home isn't allowed at the moment. They have to have us turn up, which is not fair enough. It's an element of discipline, isn't it? Turn up at this time, boom, and yeah, I sort of get that. It's a bit fragmented, the management structure at the moment, but that'll change. That'll come into shape as we get closer to July now. It's a very high-profile customer for IBM, so it's all good. I suppose one of the exceptions that I know they'll give to allow you to work from home is obviously coronavirus. And I suppose if you're listening to this years from now, it'll probably be a distant memory, something like SARS it was, and other forms of avian flu and swine flu, I think some places call it. So coronavirus is an interesting one. And there seems to be an awful lot of hype sort of around it. I sort of remember SARS, but that didn't seem to spread too much, and there wasn't too many fatalities. Calling coronavirus that we see at the moment coronavirus is a little bit disingenuous to other types of flu viruses, because there are other coronaviruses around. This is number 19, I think. They call it -19, I think. And basically it started in a place called Wuhan in sort of central China, and that's by a strange coincidence. And if you've been listening to any of my other podcasts, I've mentioned I worked in China 25 years ago. This very year, so between the middle of May and the 1st of June, 1995, I was in China. I was in a place called Ying County certainly for a week or so of that, and that was just east of Wuhan, and I did travel through Wuhan as well. So I was thinking of going back this year. I think I might give it a miss. So basically, it's the typical sort of mutation. So it would have started probably in a bat or something. It would have bit an animal maybe, and then it's been in close proximity maybe to meat and stuff like that, a market. So you had livestock near meat, that was cut up, whatever. And there was I think some of the first cases was one of these markets in Wuhan in China, and that's basically how it got into the human population. So you have to have a proximity really to livestock, chickens, things like that, and it's mutated into this variant of coronavirus, And I think China was in denial initially. They are much more open nowadays, and they did eventually realise the scale of it. To be fair, it's not. It's not the most contagious things out there. Measles is an order of magnitude, maybe hundreds of times more contagious. So, and it is a flu. It's a form of flu at the end of the day, and you wash your hands. Keep away from sick people. You're probably not going to get it, and if you do, you're probably going to feel like shit for a couple of weeks, and then you'll be fine. The most vulnerable in society are those who already got existing lung conditions or the very old, and even the survival rates in the very old is actually quite high for this type of respiratory illness. If you're healthy, it's less than a 1% chance that you're going to die from it. So it'd be very rare now for you to die from it. The interaction with the lungs is essentially it impacts the production of mucus. The inside of your lungs, they need to be quite moist all the time, and there's also a cleaning process going on. So when you might have a cough and a bit of mucus comes up. Apologies if you're eating at the moment. But that's disrupted. So yeah, and in a healthy person, you'll fight it. Sometimes that can be a problem as well. Your immune system can overreact, and that can cause problems. But essentially, if you're, reasonably healthy, you're going to be fine. And obviously, if you've any problems with your lungs, or you're particularly very old, then yeah, you are at risk. So it's spread to Europe. I think the first cases were at the beginning of the year, around the end of December in China. And we're now into March, and it sort of hit Europe in the last week or so. Italy, parts of Italy, not necessarily, but particularly badly hit. And I think, that's more maybe to do with, well, people didn't know it was around maybe, and you really need to be in close contact with other people. Passing them in the street, even sitting on a bus or a train. It's interesting that this isn't a sneezing one. You don't sneeze with coronavirus. It's really a dry cough. And the commonest form of transmission of any of these viruses is you basically get on your hands and you eat. You ingest it that way. That seems to be a pretty popular way to catch a flu. If someone coughs or sneezes on you, it's pretty, I think most people are pretty good at covering their mouths or using a handkerchief. But obviously, if they put their hands to the face, they put their hands on the surface, you come along and put your hand on the surface, you can see how that works. And then you eat a sandwich, whatever. So keeping your hands clean is important. I think I have a bit of OCD in that regard now when it comes to hand washing. I probably wash my hands maybe 10, 20, maybe 30 times a day. So hand sterilizer is good as well. Apparently it's flying off the shelves. A lot of people have took to wearing these face masks, which apparently is a bad idea unless you have coronavirus. Essentially, putting it on, taking it off, you're touching it with your hands. As soon as you've touched it, you need to replace it. It's a disaster. Whereas if you've got coronavirus, it's a great way of reducing, the spread from your mouth. So realistically, a mask isn't going to help you, I'm afraid, and might even increase the chances of getting it. So I think that's interesting. So I did have a bit of a dry cough the last while, which I thought was quite interesting. I haven't been to Italy though recently, so I haven't been to any hot spots. I think there are now 2 people in Ireland have confirmed as having coronavirus. I think one was a schoolboy, I think, who'd been in Italy, and the other case, they have no idea how they got it, I think. But like I say, it could be, somebody's carried it who haven't got the symptoms, which is possible. Or, even going to an airport, you're unlikely to catch it that way. Even sitting on a plane for a few hours, it's not that easy to catch, But it's really took the media by storm. And I think it's gone a bit crazy. I think it is blown out of proportion in many ways. And I think, this is what the media feeds off nowadays. It's got pretty bad that, everything now is, it's a disaster, isn't it? The environment, man, people protesting about the environment now, I'm big into not wasting resources and not having pollution. Yeah, fair enough. Don't want plastic in the poor fish, it's terrible, but I think some of that is getting out of hand because it can become a very emotional thing, the world's going to end or something like that, Well, it is, but not in our lifetimes. So, excuse me, that's that dry cough, coronavirus. But apparently I was reading a story that there was people on the train and someone started coughing and everybody was staring at him, giving him the evil eye. That's well known to sterilise people carrying coronavirus, isn't it? So anyhow, I don't take coffee in the car in the morning anymore. I have a cheeky bottle of water there. It's been chilling overnight. It's been bloody cold. I've just come off the motorway now on the N3, so the way I go towards the IBM campus. It's a massive campus. Thousands of people are there. And there is a debate over, if you've more than 1,000 people on a site, you send everybody home just as a precaution, I can work from home. They've provided me with a laptop. It's very nice of them. But Google did it the other day. They were showing off, you know, sending everybody home. It's a test, you know. One person had flu-like symptoms, so they sent 5,000 people home. But yeah, so you know, we might get sent home yet, but there's so much hype around it, you know. And the reality is, this time of year, so many people have coughs and colds. We ain't all got coronavirus now, you know. That's for sure. But yeah. Okay. So I'm just coming towards a place called Blanchardstown. It's a very large shopping centre in Blanchardstown. Ironically, that's the name of the place. There's a village called Blanchardstown, but the shopping centre's known as Blanchardstown. So it's the highest footfall of any shopping centre in Ireland. It's lots of millions. And it's quite spread out. There is an enclosed shopping section, but there's also retail units. I haven't been there in years. A lot of clothes shops, you know. I'm not very fashion conscious. You could argue I'm fashion unconscious. But yeah, they probably don't have my size anyway. So just coming past there now, there's a nice new hotel being built as well. It's a massive hotel there, Crown Plaza. Yeah, it looks quite nice. I don't know why they need such a big hotel here, but I think if you think of the location, the shopping centre, IBM, other big companies, maybe it's a thing, you know. Just passing a very large queue of traffic that's coming off of Blanchardstown. I don't know why they're going there. Maybe a bit of shopping. I mean, what time? It's just hit 9 a.m. So they could be going to work, maybe. But a hell of a queue of traffic. I'm glad I'm not working in Blanchardstown anyway. So I'm the next junction up, the Cloney stroke Mulhooded turning. And literally the road just goes straight into this massive campus, IBM campus. It's quite interestingly done. Interesting story about IBM in Ireland. They've been in Ireland 60 years. They had the first ATM cash machine in Ireland was an IBM one. Started out as manufacturing. The original buildings are all like manufacturing buildings. They would have had manufacturing in the machines in them. That's all gone now. Gone elsewhere. I know IBM don't manufacture as much stuff as they used to, and the stuff they do is probably manufactured in Asia. So this is really primarily services. Then the building I work in, Building 6, is probably the most modern section of the campus. It's only about a year old, I think, the building itself. And I'm on the IBM Cloud with one of the IBM. It's a massive team that run the IBM Cloud, but and I'm just a very small part of the whole affair, you know. But yeah, it's an interesting how, you know, I felt a little bit sad walking around. I was given a tour when I started, and you see these big halls that are empty now. They would have had machines, assembly lines. You know, it's always a little bit of sadness. Oh, why don't we manufacture things anymore? But then you look at the number of highly skilled people working in the services industry, the services industry, and you see the engineers, you know, the data scientists, the ops people, the SREs, the architects, you know, and you realise that there's a huge contribution being made there, you know, and yeah, it's probably better we don't manufacture things. It's quite a mundane thing that should be probably done by a robot. So yeah, it's very interesting. One slide, a little bit of trivia. The toilets are unisex in the building. Maybe that's a sign of the times now. If you want to identify yourself as something other, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I'm not particularly opposed to it. I don't really have an opinion on it, I don't think. I suppose, you know what? It's the pursuit of happiness, isn't it, life? Whatever makes you happy, I suppose. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody. You know? Yeah. The pursuit of happiness. I don't know if my shoulder's feeling better or not. Oh, every so often I was getting a twinge there. I did wonder if somebody had a puppet of me, you know, the voodoo doll. And they had a few needles there. I seemed to go from the knee to the other knee, you know, usual sort of thing. And now the bloody shoulder as well. I won't be carrying 100 weight of coal on my back anyway, that's for sure. Then again, even if it was alright, I wouldn't, so. Oh, here we go. Now, few more minutes and I'll be in there. I'm running a little bit late today. I knew I'd be leaving a bit later. There's like, what should we say, a hump. There's like a slowdown between sort of 8:30. If I left at that time, you sort of get snarled up in the slower traffic. So I like to leave nearer the 8:30. And for whatever reason, that hump was a bit later today. So by the time I was leaving the house, it's 20 to 9. But I'll be there in 3 minutes according to Google Maps. I'm actually on the road now that literally goes straight into IBM. There's a few taxis playing chicken with me at the moment because it merges from 2 lanes to 1. I think I won that one there now. I did okay now. I have to get my badge out in a minute as well. Do the old badging into the campus. It's all very high security now. You have to be in the club to get into this place. Yeah. There's not that many. Once inside now, there's not many badging doors. I think I've just got one. Once I'm actually in the building, I've only got one, which isn't too bad. Some companies, oh man, you'll be badging to loads of different doors. So there's quite a bit of industry here, other than IBM, and then the IBM campus itself. And you just see a plane taking off there from Dublin Airport. So if you take off westerly from the main runway at Dublin Airport, you actually fly directly over IBM. I'm just looking there now. I think that's a Ryanair, is it? Oh no, it's not. It's not United. I think it's a United plane. Jeez, it's not on Aer Lingus anyway. So the big heavy planes now, they do make quite a bit of noise. When I first started, I hear a plane overhead. I used to go into flight radar on my phone and have a quick look see what it was. Now it's just background noise, But it's fairly unpopulated, this area. There's very few houses, so it's the ideal place, for the flight path, I suppose. It's the way it's been maybe, for many years. And there's just industry here, which, there's no one trying to sleep here, so it's fine, Well, maybe there is. I don't know. They sort of have breakout areas. There's a lot of seats, comfy chairs around. But me and my bad knee, and getting in them, it's getting out of them that's a problem. But they have something called the Hive, IBM, Hive, which is like a chill out area with a beanbag, pool table, dart, all that sort of stuff. It's always empty, very few people in there. I think people like to give the appearance of working. It's usually those that are doing less work like to give more of an appearance that they're working, that sort of way. I'm just driving around the campus now. I can see the building I'm in, the main entrance. That's got 250 metres from the desk. And because I've got a bad knee, now this isn't out of laziness now. I actually park, there's a car park relatively close to one of the side doors. So I'm going to park there. I have been parking there recently. So it is a parking place, so it's fine. But it means I have to drive around the building itself, and it's a big building. I think it's one of the most recent buildings. There is a building 7, but it looks more like a temporary building. I don't believe it's as an important structure as this. This does have loading docks and things like that, which is interesting, but I don't believe there's ever been manufacturing here that it's always been offices. But obviously you still need a loading dock to bring equipment in, so this all makes sense, doesn't it? There we go. Oh, sun visor down. Excuse me again. Coronovirus. There's a load of parking spaces today. I say some people are working from home. If you're a permanent employee of IBM, it's quite common to work from home. I see them missing some days, but they're still working. And I see them going home early, which is nice, I can't do. And I see them coming in late, which is what I'm doing at the moment. So that's it. First podcast of 2020. It's March, eh? And I hope there'll be many more. So thanks for listening. Hope you haven't fallen asleep.